Claudia Bazán, and today I'll introduce you to Horrified. It is a game for 1 to 5 players with a duration of 60 minutes by Prospero Hall. In this cooperative game, players will try to save a village from different classic monsters with different levels of difficulty, such as Frankenstein or Dracula. Players will use items scattered throughout the entire village to defeat them, but beware! Every monster has a different way of being defeated. Let's see how we play it. First of all, let's choose the monsters we want to play with. The Invisible Man and Dracula are the easiest in the game. The Wolfman and the Creature from the Black Lagoon are of medium difficulty, and the Mummy and the Frankenstein and the Bride are of high difficulty. Players then choose 2, 3, or 4 monsters depending on the difficulty level they want to play with the game. On the back of each monster, you'll find the necessary preparation for each one. In certain cases, tokens must be placed on top or on the side of the monster sheets, or tiles must be placed on top of certain locations to make them special. In addition, we will place each monster in its initial place. Then players must choose a character. These have different abilities that will help them move themselves or monsters around the board or assist them in the use and collection of items found on the board. In addition, each of these show the number of actions they can play in a turn, and after choosing them, they must be positioned in a place shown on their player card. Once the characters are chosen, we will draw 12 items that we'll distribute around the board. These can be of 3 different colors, red, blue, and yellow, and have a certain level of strength in this number that appears here. In addition, they show the place where they should be placed when you take them out of the bag. Another help for the players is the pair cards. Each player is given one of these at the beginning of the game, and this can show certain movement or item usage abilities for the players. It is important to note that there are other characters in the game, the villagers. These will be positioned throughout the game, can be attacked by monsters, and they need to get to the place written on this spot. As soon as they reach their destination, they give the player who brought them there a pair card. This is the only way to win pair cards in the game. Now, how do the turns take place? First comes the player phase, where the active player will perform the actions available to him. These possible actions are: move to an adjacent position on the board. In this action, you can also take villagers with you. Guide a villager from the place where the player is located to an adjacent one, or the other way around. You can collect the number of items that are in the same place. You can share as many items as you wish with a player in the same space. You can perform the special action of each player. In addition, you can advance the tasks required by each monster with the items of the color or strength they require. You can also defeat each monster again with items, but when this happens, the monster is removed from the game forever. Finally, in this phase, you can play as many pair cards as you wish. After a player resolves his actions, the player moves on to the monster phase. In this phase, the player must draw a card from this deck, which is divided into 3 parts. The first part shows the number of items to be drawn from the bag and put on the board. This whole area shows the event involving a monster or villager. If the monster the event is about is not in the game, the event must be ignored. The bottom of the card indicates the movement and attack of the monster shown in the zone. This indicates how many spaces each monster shown should move, and then how many attack dice should be rolled. These dice have 3 types of faces. The first one indicates a hit of the monster. This symbol indicates that the power of the monster is activated. In addition, there are 2 empty sides, indicating that nothing happens. This dice roll will have effect only on monsters that meet a player or villager. In case there is no monster with characters, the dice should not be rolled. When a monster hits a player, they can defend with items, discarding 1 item for each hit they receive. If the player has no items, they are defeated and must remove their pawn from the game. In their next round, the player appears in the hospital. When a monster hits a villager, they are immediately defeated. In either case of defeat, the terror marker must advance 1 space. The terror marker indicates the level of terror that the monsters have caused in the city. If it reaches the skull, the players lose the game. The second way to lose the game is to run out of monster cards. Now, if before these 2 things happen, the players manage to defeat all the active monsters, the player will win the game. For Dracula, it is necessary to go to a place that has a coffin and use items with a total of plastics to place the coffins in these spaces. Its power is that the active hero must be positioned in Dracula's space. And to defeat him, you must use +6 yellow items in his space. Frankenstein and the Bride must meet once we increase the humanity of each one with a strength level of blue and yellow items. Its active power is that the Bride advances one space toward Frankenstein. The problem is that if they meet before having their humanity dials to the maximum, the terror level increases. To make progress with the creature, you must use items of all 3 colors to move the boat to its lair. Its active power is that the boats move one space backwards, and to defeat it, we must use one item of each color in the space where the creature is. For the mummy, we must use yellow items in the museum to move the scarabs and return them to their position marked with their numbers. Its active power is to turn the lowest scarab upside down, making it difficult to move them. To defeat him, we need +9 red items in his space. For the Wolfman, we must use blue items in the laboratory to find the cure for lycanthropy. His power is that characters in the Wolfman's space are hit. To defeat him, we need +6 red items in his space and use the cure found before. For the Invisible Man, we must use in the police precinct items of any color that match the described place. His power is to move 2 spaces to the nearest villager, and to defeat him, we must use +9 red items in his space. Well, that's a game overview, and now I'll tell you what I think about it. The theme of this game is extremely interesting, bringing together all these classic monsters in one place. Also, the art is a delight. I mean, look at this box, these monster figures, these characters, the cards, the boards, they're all amazing. In addition, the outer sides of the inner box contains backstories for all the monsters in the game, which greatly enhances the gaming experience. The way to defeat each monster is pretty unique, presenting you with different dynamics, just like minigames within the game. On the other side, despite having several combinations of difficulty, the replay value of this game is not so great. This is because even though you have different monster combinations, every one of them is defeated the same way from game to game. Thematically, although well written, I hate that the Invisible Man, it's not invisible in both practical and visual ways. After all, his ability is more like a teleportation rather than an invisibility, so you always know where he is. Also, another rather frustrating situation is that the game does not scale pretty well as the number of players and monsters goes up. In that sense, when there are many players, the board collapses and you feel constantly a target of attacks without being able to do much in between turns. In addition, if you increase the number of players or monsters, you don't get to increase the number of monster cards or the way to get pair cards, so the difficulty level shoots up too much. Plus, the villagers are quite annoying because they too are a constant target of attacks, and it is very hard to stop worrying about the monsters and guide them to their destinations. Also, the reward doesn't feel quite enough because you have to spend too much effort to get these pair cards, being the only way to get them throughout the game. For example, a good reward could be to delay the terror marker one space because there is no way to do this in the entire game. If you like classic horror and cooperative games, this is the perfect mix for you. It is a game with cool graphics and well written, but that under certain conditions, it can be a little frustrating. So for that reason, I gave this one a 7 out of 10 with a seal of approval from me. Thanks for watching, I'm Claudia Bazán and I'll see you in another round.